All right. Good evening. Good evening. We are back. I do apologize for yesterday. Yesterday had an emergency in the morning, so was not able to do day 5 yesterday on Saturday, but we are back. So we are at the last few days. Today we're going over chapter 6. So for those of you, again, I am Tanisha Shanee, Miss Inspiration. For those that have not been following, we have been going through day by day of my book, Dear Single in Love, 8 Principles for the Woman Waiting for Her God-Ordained Purpose Mate. This book right now is available on Amazon as a physical and ebook. And I just recorded the audiobook last night. So the audiobook will be out, and I'm really excited to share that with everyone because I have been delaying it, but I finally did it. So we went into the studio, my team, my photographer, and we went and we read. I did the reading of the audiobook. So stay tuned because that audiobook will be out very, very, very soon. And it's actually a bonus. So anyone that has purchased the regular book, when you get the audiobook, there's an actual bonus message that God had me to incorporate moments before walking in. So tonight we're talking about chapter 6. Chapter 6 is my second favorite chapter because chapter 6 discusses purpose. For those of you that don't know, I am an inspirational speaker, purposeful lifestyle strategist, and I am the owner of Healing for Purpose Coaching. Right, so my coaching program, the ultimate goal is to get everyone onto a path of healing, but also to get them to a place where they identify their purpose and they know their purpose. And when it comes to relationships, we start to see that there is a correlation between your person, your relationship, purpose. It all has a correspondence, right? There's everything that start to get aligned. So we're going to dive right into it. So thank you for everyone that's joining live. Those that are on Instagram, hello, hello. So like I said, chapter 6, start living life on purpose, right? So if you know your purpose, then you know what? That's a great thing. Knowing your purpose is actually one of the best places to be in life. There are a lot of people out there who are in purpose, they're operating in purpose, they're doing purposeful things, and I love meeting those individuals. And then there are a lot of people that have either never thought about purpose, never heard of purpose, and they're just there, right? I know for me, I never heard the term purpose until about 2014. I'm actually going to interview that person because that was one of the first times that someone helped me to understand that what I was doing when I started the weight loss journey and started to help other people, that was a part of my purpose, right? But I just never heard of the terminology and understood like this was bigger than what the weight loss journey and, the healing journey. It was a bigger calling for myself and then for others. So we're going to definitely talk about that and give you some tips and hints. So what are you doing with your life? And I know that's a question that a lot of people hear and they get quite intimidated, right? A lot of people get intimidated because they do not know. Sorry, I want to take a screenshot of something. They get intimidated because, you might have heard someone say it in this way. What is your why, right? So when you were born, why were you born? And the one thing I want us to start really wrapping our mind is that when you were born with a purpose. Like God has you to be born with a purpose. You were born on purpose. Like I said, any situation that has happened, whether, even miscarriages are deemed purposeful. The whole experience is purposeful, whether it's for the mother, for the father. Sometimes it might be for the other side. So quick story, when I had my ectopic pregnancy, when I went into the procedure room, because I had to get emergency surgery, I remember the surgeon, he was a Jewish man. And, I was like, look, I had a Jewish surgeon, I had a Muslim anesthesiologist, and I was like, before y'all put me under, I am going to pray. And I made that. So everyone's looking at me and I was like, whatever, we're going to pray. I'm inviting Jesus up in here, the Holy Spirit, to make sure that I walk out of here safe and sound. And I prayed. And when I came out of surgery, I remember the surgeon came to me himself. Normally, it's only the doctor that I was working with, but the surgeon came to me himself and he said, I don't know. He was like, I know who your God is. He said, and all I'm going to say to you is you must keep doing whatever you are supposed to be doing, because technically, based on the condition of your the way that you were when you walked in here, you should have been dead already. And I was like, wow. So he was a Jewish man who did not believe in Jesus. He did not believe in, in a Christianity form of God. He came to me and was like, I don't think he converted or anything, but it shifted his thinking and even his level of faith, because he now have seen something that he probably never saw before. So sometimes your purpose is going to be an experience for you, but it could be an awakening for someone else, right? That is a part of the purpose. So sometimes it is a lot bigger than us, right? The time that you have on this earth is not to just be someone's wife. There are so many people who have been told, that's why you hear so many young people, they get married at 18, 19 years old, and they're thinking, well, I'm supposed to be his wife, and I'm just going to be his wife until the day that we die. And they cater to that person. And that might be a part of their purpose. Being a housewife, raising their children, that is extremely purposeful. But a lot of times, God needs you to do more. And we can't just kind of put ourselves in this box and just one title, right? What God needs for y'all both to do together is to come together so that y'all can execute what's in the inside of you. That's what we really need to do, and when you have the right partner, the person that you're supposed to be with, even if you came to that person and said, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom, right? There's a lot of couples that I have been seeing online right now, and, they have stay-at-home wives, but they're stay-at-home wives. When those kids are in school, they're working on their business, they're working on their projects, they're working on the other things that they are called to do. So they're not just sitting at home making sure that the house is tidy, but they're still doing the things that they're purposed to do. So yes, we can do both, right? But when you have that strong partnership, it makes it 10 times easier for you to do that, right? This is the reason why. It's not saying that a single person cannot operate on purpose. Absolutely not. That is not what I'm saying. But when you have the right person, the person that you are supposed to be with, that union is going to be 10 times stronger. You guys are going to come together and y'all going to do damage to the world in a good way, not a bad way, right? So this is the reason why God wants you to meet that purpose mate, because y'all going to thrive off of one another. You're going to fuel him when he's feeling down, defeated, when the world's kicking him down. You're going to fuel him, and he's going to fuel you when you start feeling insecure and you're not confident in yourself. You're not sure this campaign is going to work. He's going to speak life into you. You're going to come together and do some amazing things, right? So we have to think about this on a larger scale beyond what we just see. Husband and wife, you're just going to do things in matching pajamas. It's bigger than matching pajamas. It's bigger than saying that when we go on vacation, we're going to have the same flat outfit and sneakers. It's bigger than that. That's just the icing on the cake. That's just that's an extra perk. But if you're only getting married because you want matching pajamas for Christmas, then you have definitely defeated the purpose. I want my purpose mate, because just like I said, yesterday I went into that studio and I had to record this book. I went to the studio and I recorded my audio book for this book. And it would have been amazing to have my purpose mate to be there, to speak to me, to just, make sure that I had more water in my tumbler. I love when I see Joyce Meyer and her husband, Dave. Like I said, I think I mentioned this the other night. Dave is always there. Dave is always sitting in the front. Dave just wants to make sure, God forbid, if my wife gets dizzy, I'm going to be right there to catch her. If she needs water, I'm going to get up and I'm going to make sure she has her water. I'm going to give her feedback. That man is just sitting there to just be there to fuel her. That's what we want. And guess what? She supports him in his endeavors. Everyone's endeavors are not going to be in the public and in the forefront. So this is why some people say, well, Dave doesn't do anything. Joyce Meyer, she takes care of that whole family. No, I don't. I highly do not believe that. I don't think that's the truth at all. I know that Dave has a major part in the things that we just don't see in the forefront. Joyce is the face, And he's the support that's going to make sure that that face wakes up every day, as long as God gave her life, to make sure that she's going to show up and be the best version of herself to carry out that purpose. That's what we should be looking for. Right. And then the last thing is, with the right person together, the two of you want to do great work of purpose. And that's going to be our goal. So 4 principles of purpose. Purpose is not just for you. And actually, I think I added a 5th one. I added a 5th one because God had spoke to me about this a while ago. So your purpose is not just for you. So it's not going to just make you feel good. The benefit of it is that when you are operating in purpose, it is going to make you feel amazing, but it's not for you, right? And I think a lot of times we make our purpose assignment about us, right? We make it about us. God is the one that gives us purpose. So there are so many people out here that talk about purpose, and God is nowhere in the conversation. How does that happen? If he has given it to you, you need to go to the source and say, hey, what is my purpose assignment? What am I supposed to be doing here? Right? Your parents can't tell you your purpose. This is the reason why, again, with Christianity, you see a lot of people going to church. There are, you have pastors, and then they prepare their children to be pastors. That might not be their purpose. That might not be their calling. They might not even supposed to be anywhere near the pulpit, and you're forcing them into a situation, right? So we got to realize that it's not going to be our parents. Your husband's not going to tell you your purpose. Your children, your best friends. It's going to come from God. And if you want confirmation, go to Philippians 2, verse 13. Your purpose will not necessarily be a job. Can you find purpose in your job? Absolutely. That's the one thing that I love to do. I love to help people to take their purpose, and the ones that are like, I just want to work, I want to have my job. God is like, all right, cool. You can definitely find purpose in your work, but your purpose does not necessarily have to be a job. It is not necessarily going to be on the Department of Labor list of occupations. Your purpose might just be to every Sunday, you might be the person that has to give out the water at the church or at a daycare center, right? That might be your purpose. You might be the person that, clean you might go to your children's school, and your purpose assignment, it might not be the thing that you do for the rest of your life, but you might be the person that go there and to make sure that, you help out with the kids in the morning. Purpose looks very different for everyone, right? Your purpose will solve problems. Your purpose will solve problems. God knows that there are a lot of problems in the world. And therefore, he needs these purpose assignments to be carried out so that they can solve the problems of the world. Your purpose is not going to be a burden on you. It is going to help you to solve a problem within the world. And a hint that's going to help you, Dr. Miles Monroe, God rest his soul, if you have never listened to any of Dr. Miles Monroe teachings about anything, he taught about purpose. He taught about your relationship with God. He taught a lot about relationships and marriages, kingdom marriages. Please, the great part about a lot of his teachings and his ministry, they have been able to take those old teachings, and they have been able to reproduce them on YouTube. His books are on Amazon. I 100% endorse. I have studied Dr. Miles Monroe for the last 5 or 6 years. But he has said in one of his teachings that always stuck with me, he said, what frustrates you the most is probably what you are purposed to fix. And trust me, once I understood that, once he said that, it was like, that's why this frustrates my soul. That's why I get upset about this. Well, that makes sense, God. So a lot of times, because it is about solving problems, we see problems every day. And there are certain problems that do not bother you. You just be like, it is what it is. And then there are certain things that it just irks your little nerve. You ready to knock on the side of the head, but you can't do that. Well, you shouldn't do that. That might be a hint towards saying, God, is this something that I'm supposed to work towards, to help release, to help correct, to help bring some favor towards, or help bring some light, shine some light on it, some awareness. There are different ways that will look for everyone. But again, these are just some ideas as to how the principles of purpose starts to really operate. All right. So Ruth was in purpose. And in chapter 6, I do talk a lot about Ruth and her assignment, right? Ruth was in purpose, and it didn't look like a regular assignment, right? All Ruth really did was, her main assignment was, she left her hometown and came back to Bethlehem with her mother-in-law, Naomi. That was a purpose move, right? So there was purpose, and that was the assignment. She had to, Naomi was older. Someone needed to help take care of her. Remember, Naomi lost her husband and her sons. So now she's traveling back. And back then, she wasn't jumping on the train. She wasn't, getting in the car. She wasn't getting on the plane. She probably had was it a donkey, or probably had a camel or something, had some kind of animal to kind of help her. She probably had to walk. So here's Ruth like, no, I'm going to stay with you. So Ruth went with her. And then when Ruth got there, she had to go out and make sure that they had food. So she went in to the fields so that she can gather, so that they can have some grain, so that they can eat. That is an assignment. That is a purpose assignment. And so because Ruth went out there and she was doing it diligently, she didn't worry about her hair. She wasn't trying to get cute, right? And this gives us ideas as to, we hear often, and this is just like a little segue, because so many times we hear that people say, I can't do this until everything is perfect, right? And I went live a while ago and I had said something, and someone took what I said and they just misconstrued it. So many of us are not, especially like those who are called to be influencers. So many people are like, well, I can't go live unless my hair is done, my eyebrows are done, my makeup is perfect. And if it's not, I'm not doing that. You have to realize every time that you go live, you don't have to be perfect, because God is going to send the right people to that message when they need to see it. So he just needs it to happen when it happens. And that's how we have to kind of take from the book of Ruth, from the story. So she was out here working hard. So Ruth wasn't out here, working, being lazy and looking around like, well, who can I find to marry, right? She was like, look, I got to make sure I get enough so that I can feed myself. I can feed my mother-in-law. She was busy in purpose. She was doing what she was called to do at that time. And she stood out. She stood out to Boaz. He walked in and was like, to his harvester, like, yo, who does she belong to? When you operate in purpose and you are doing it diligently and you're doing it with intention, people are going to recognize and identify who you are, whether you are looking for the attention or not. So you have to just go out there. If I'm intentional, God's telling me to do this, I'm going to do it. And guess what? I have to understand I'm going to be recognized. Someone is going to recognize me. Someone is going to see what I'm doing. They're going to inquire about who is she. That's what you want. And it's going to be good and bad. But this is why we said the last time we have to discern. And when we start to discern, we can identify, when we start having that conversation with God and saying, all right, God, did you send this man into my life? You're going to be able to say, okay, this person was not, but this person was. This is going to be a good thing. This is going to be a bad thing. I need to entertain this, but not that, right? You're going to be able to have those conversations. So she stood out. And because Boaz was a business owner, he was providing services and support to the community, right? So sometimes we don't realize that that person also is going to be in purpose. That person is not only going to recognize what you're doing and see what you are in purpose of doing, they're going to also be in purpose, because Ruth was in his field. That means that Boaz was out here providing jobs, right? He had employers. People were able to come and work for him. And then people were like Ruth, they were coming so that they can get some grain for themselves and they can feed their families. So he also was in purpose. No, he might not have been the one actually doing the work out there, but his foundation was a lot more established than normal. That's why I say, when we look at the characteristics in chapter 3, the one thing that, yes, your husband is going to be employed, but some of you, your husband is going to have businesses. Your husband is going to, when you meet him, he's going to be already established. He's going to be already there doing the work, and it's going to stand out. And you're going to be like, whoa, you might even feel intimidated because you might be like, wait, hold on. I'm over here just, I'm just getting some grain. This man, he owns the whole land. Don't be intimidated by that. Because if he is purposed to be your husband, he's going to understand, cool, I might need to help her right now. I might need to be the person that's going to, speak life into her so she can continue to live out that purpose. That's why we need that person. So sometimes you have to realize that it's not always going to be even, right? It's not going to always be, well, I make $100,000 in my business or in my job, and this man makes $100,000. He might make $1 million a year. But as long as he's in purpose and you are in purpose and y'all both identify and understand, come together, can y'all imagine what y'all can do together with that? It's going to definitely be groundbreaking, and it's going to be mind blowing. So Boaz was not just attracted to Ruth, but he was attracted to her diligence. That's what I said. Your person is going to identify you, and they're going to see your work, right? I don't know if I said this in one of the other teachings, but one thing that God's been speaking to me even more recently, that person is going to be attracted to your fruit. Your fruit is going to be it's just going to stand out. Your fruit is going to be easy to identify. See, right now, we're really in a season where people are just talking and talking. Yeah, I make 6 figures, right? 6 figures. They can't prove nothing. And guess what? Not to be funny, but they don't have to prove anything. But a lot of people are just talking. Yeah, 6 figures this, 7 figure this. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. That person could just stand there. They could be quiet, but you can see that they bear fruit. It's just going to be something that's going to be so distinctively different about this individual. So it's like, this is where I say also, you might not be attractive. The person might not be your typical type. But when you look at that person, you're going to be like, dang, he is, it's something about him. Like, he is just sexy, because his fruit is really his fruit that is standing out. And same thing with you. You might not be his physical type either, but it's going to be something about the way that you operate, the way that you are purposeful. That's what's going to be like, look, let me tap into this, because I don't know, she's in purpose. I'm seeing it. I'm loving it. This is what I want to get to know more about. God is telling me to go talk to her. It's going to just start making sense. This is where we have to decrease ourselves and allow the Holy Spirit come in and just do the magic. When we get out of our own way, that's when we start to see things just really happen naturally and organically and purposefully. All right. Put a 1 if this is making sense to you. Let me know that this is making sense, because I just want to make sure y'all know I'm passionate about purpose. Purpose to me is like, I want all of us to operate in purpose, on purpose, every single day. Right. So just to go a little bit deeper, Ruth and Boaz's marriage was on purpose, right? And sometimes, I went to a church one time, and they said in their service that they said, thank you so much, Jamaica, 100% sense. They said that the book of Ruth does not make sense. I mean, it's not relevant. But if we really look at how Jesus got here, right? So, and I always pronounce, I think it's Obed. Ruth and Boaz had Obed, and Obed he started the lineage towards David, which led to the birth of Jesus. So we really cannot ignore that. And I think so many people do ignore that part, and they just bypass it, like, oh, it's a love story, and the woman met, and she was a foreigner, and she met her husband, and they just bypass that last chapter in the Bible. And it's like, well, wait, if we didn't have this Ruth and Boaz story, we probably would have never had Jesus. So these are things that we have to really be mindful of. Sometimes our union is going to birth purpose beyond what we're going to be able to experience. You are going to establish something today, tomorrow, next year, 2 years from now, that you are not going to be able to sit around and see and witness happen. But you still have to do that. And when, again, God, he thinks about the end first. God works backwards. We work from today and then tomorrow. God already knows what tomorrow is going to bring. So God already knows he might need this Martin Luther King. Think about Martin Luther King family. He needed Dr. King to be born. So he needed his grandparents and his great grandparents to meet in order for that birth to happen, in order for that story to exist. Those are things that we don't realize, that this is all a part. And yes, sometimes, you might struggle in that season. You might struggle until the day that you die. But because you followed out and that purpose was born, and then it continued to live, now that story is going to continue to prosper. And then that person is going to be able to come forth. So you might not feel like, well, my purpose is not this big, lavish idea. That's fine. But as long as you are doing exactly what you know God is telling you to do, if God is saying, I need you to marry this man, and that man is saying, God said, I need to marry you, and then y'all come together. If y'all are supposed to have children, y'all come to have children, those children are going to be born on purpose, with purpose. You just may not be here. You may not be here to experience and witness it yourself. Don't worry about that. Just know that you got to do what you're supposed to do. All right. So what is purpose? So basic definition is the reason for which something is done or someone is created or for which something exists. Right. Simple answer. Simple answer, but one of the most complex things ever. We have heard about purpose a lot. I remember in elementary school, we had to do them science projects. Remember the science projects? You have to get the objective and what is the purpose, right? What is the purpose of this project, of this experiment? And for some reason, once we stopped doing those science projects, we stopped thinking about purpose, right? I said to you, and my friend Dr. Bola is on Instagram, I didn't start hearing the term purpose until I met her in 2014. Right. So this was something that it was like, you have purpose, and this happened on purpose. I was not hearing those types of things. I didn't know I knew about Dr. Miles Monroe. I didn't know of his teachings. I just knew of him. And then when he passed away, I knew of the story of him and his wife. But I did not understand, like, I have purpose. Right. Purpose is, like I said before, purpose is given to us by God. And when we look at Romans 8, verse 28, right, who has been called according to his purpose? God calls us. So God is saying, I needed you to be born. You're still living. I woke you up today. I'm giving you purpose, right? So that is what purpose is. Now, what we tend to do is we forget that we make purpose into this big project, right? A lot of people, and even I was guilty of this, right? I used to think that, okay, what is the big thing that I'm supposed to do, right? So we make purpose into this big project type, and that's not necessarily what it is. God just needs for you to use the one gift that he has, well, the many gifts, and he might say, okay, in this season, I need you to use this gift. And in this season, I need for you to use this gift. Like I said, when I wrote this book, and I put it out there. That was one gift. And then here it was, 2022, I finally sat, I finally sat and I recorded an audiobook of the same book. So God said, all right, we're going to take the same book. We're going to use the words that you wrote. And now we're going to have you to speak those words. And we're going to record those words. And then this is how we're going to use the same story. Because see, one thing that I didn't realize was that as an author, we tend to think about the people that just like physical books, right? Because I could have just made an ebook, but then I was told by people, well, I don't like ebooks. I don't want to be on my phone. I want to see the physical book. I want to put the ears on the paper. So I only thought about those individuals, and I totally forgot about the population of people that I'm totally missing, because they might buy the book and never read it. But if they have an audiobook version, they are more likely to listen to it. And I did not realize that. So it's still the same project, but now God has me doing it in different parts. So we have to look at that and realize that this is how it's going to sometimes work. But then I also want us to look at how we need to utilize purpose on an everyday basis. And this is the part that I want us to start to practice every single day. We have to start being more generous, being kind, displaying love, positive energy, being that light. When you start to operate in purpose on a daily basis, you're going to show up and it's going to frustrate the world. The world is going to be annoyed by you because you are not listening to what they're doing. You are saying, I'm going to intentionally wake up and I'm going to go out here and I'm going to be a different type of person that they're not accustomed to seeing. I live in Brooklyn, New York. In Brooklyn, it is it's some toxic people out here. You say good morning to someone, you still bound to get cursed out. Like, I never understood that. And it never dawned on me, because when people started to say, you just have a different energy, a different light, people are going to just see you different. And I would just be like, good morning. And this person would be like, oh my gosh, what you mean good morning? And I was just like, well, you have a blessed day, ma'am. You have a blessed day. Bola said, yes, generous, blessing others, kind. Yes, right. And that's the part of, because that is a way that God is able to let people know that there, whatever you're going on, whatever's going on in the world, whatever you're going through personally, I want you to know that I still love you. And sometimes we have to be that person, right? We have to be the individual that has to display that and to have to demonstrate that, right? So when we don't do that on a daily basis, when we don't start operating in purpose on a daily basis, people do not believe that there is a God. Like, they don't believe that. And so we have to be that example on purpose. Like, every day, I want to be the most positive person on purpose. I want to be the person, like, I pray. One of my prayers has been, God bless me so abundantly so that I can just bless others. And I never have to think about my checking account. I don't have to look at my bank account and see, can I bless this person with $20? Can I bless this person with $50? Right? So I want to get to that space, because I know there are people out there who are suffering, right? And so sometimes you have to do that. Bola said, we are the demonstration of God's love on earth. That's right. We are. Because you are sometimes going to be the assignment sent. You're going to be the blessing sent to someone's prayers, right? You're going to be the one that person is somewhere. Let me tell you a true story. One night, like I said, y'all know me, open book. I have no shame. I had 2016, 2017, lowest season of my life. And I'm sitting and I'm praying to God. God, I never had food in my house. I always struggled with food. I don't know why. Maybe it was just a thing. And I remember sitting to God and I said, God, I need at least $50 to get me some groceries. And I said, God, if I can get this $50, I will make sure I get some healthy groceries. Like, I'm not going to go buy ramen noodles or anything. I'm going to get healthy foods. I said, but Lord, I need this $50. And, I started posting about my books, my coaching, all these things. Again, no one knew that I was really struggling. Like, maybe if you were like closer to me, you probably knew, but a lot of people did not know. When I go back and I go back and reflect on a lot of those messages at the toughest time of my life, people really thought that I was thriving. And I mean, God was keeping me afloat. Absolutely. So that next morning, I woke up and someone has sent me $50. And this is why I say, God, when God wants he wants you to know that it's him that sent that person. What did he have the person write in the memo? Person sent me $50 and they said for groceries. I sat on the side of my bed and I asked God, I need at least $50. And this sometimes I'm like, I should have asked for 100. But you know what? I needed 50 and I got the 50. So I got on a train. I went to Trader Joe's. Right? Never forget this story. Went to Trader Joe's, got what I needed, probably spent like $30, $35 on what I needed. I was about to go to Starbucks to get me a cup of coffee. And let me let y'all know, people be thinking I just go to Starbucks for free or I got a lot of money. When you buy iced coffee or tea, you get a free refill if you use your app or you use the Starbucks card. So that's the trick to how I was still having all this Starbucks. Because if I got at least a $2.85 to get the first cup, baby, I was sitting in so I can get that second refill or at least two, and I had a venti by the end of the time, right? So I'm about to go to Starbucks and I'm crossing the street Right next door to the Starbucks was a McDonald's. And I saw this homeless man and something said, go to McDonald's. So in my mind, I'm like, God, but I just told you I'm gonna buy some healthy food. Why would you tell me to go to McDonald's? So I'm walking towards the McDonald's and this man is asking people for change, right? He's like, can I have some change? Can I have some change? This man looked me in my eyes, dead in my eyes, like eye to eye. This man looked me eye to eye and said, can you buy me food? You can't tell me that wasn't God. And I said, sir, let's go. I had no question because it gave me a chill. And it was just like, I know this man was asking everybody else to change, but this man looked me in my eyes. See, God needed to see, I blessed you. Are you going to be generous enough to share what I have blessed you with? And I was like, sir, go ahead, give what you want. Oh, I just want a cup of coffee. You sure you don't want a sandwich? I got that man a burger. I got him some fries and I got him that cup of coffee. And the girl's looking at me because I was just like, here, I'm sharing my blessings. So even though I just have 50, so many people have been like, well, no, I'm gonna hold on to this. I had to release some of that and give that back to God. And I don't know how soon after did I get the blessing of the 5,000 so that I can keep my home, but I'm pretty sure it was not too far thereafter. So we have to be that light. That person was a light for me. They sent me that $50. And then I had to be that light and just spend a couple of $3, $4 to buy this person McDonald's. And God said, okay, because you have to be, that man probably was sitting there and probably was praying, I need a meal, God, Lord, send someone to buy me a meal. And God probably said, say to her, can you buy me food? And she's going to buy it for you. And that man has to have enough confidence and belief that he knew that she was going to do that. And she did without any hesitation, because that's how I know how God works. That's how purpose works. That's what I'm talking about when I say assignments. Your assignment for today might be to buy a homeless person a meal. Your assignment might be, there might be a person right now on your heart, and God is saying, send that person $10 through Cash App. Send that person $10 through Cash App. And you don't know why you're going, well, why am I being told? If you have ever heard God tell you to send somebody through Cash App, please do it. Please do it. Because that person is praying somewhere. And that's and the unfortunate part, people have told us, well, you shouldn't be out here begging. You're right. Hey, cool. But you want to know what? I love when I pray to God and God sends that person, he sends those individuals. And those people start to, they just start sending. Next thing you know, you waking up and you just got $10 Cash App. And you're like, wait, huh? So that's how God works. So I like the fact of the purpose every day, but then we also got to still do those big projects, right? Because like I said, when I look at this book, I realize even more now in 2022 why I had to write this book. It makes so much more sense now. I didn't understand that. I did the assignment, I wrote it and I put it out and I said, all right, God, I'm gonna just write it because you keep telling me to write this book. So I wrote it and I put this book out. But now when I start seeing the climate, I'm seeing there are so many relationships out here that are so toxic. Like it's becoming 10 times more than normal. Like people are thriving. Like I'm about to really unfollow the shade room, because it's like, yes, you provide the breaking news of what's going on, but you also highlight entirely too much of the toxic relationships. And people are thinking this is the norm. This is why I've had people say to me, oh, if it's not a little bit of toxic, then it's not real love. I don't want anything toxic. Amina said, happened to me last week, had a man ask me to buy him a snack from Walgreens. I only have $15 to my names, no questions, asked for him the snack. Yesterday, I didn't have enough money for my groceries and the cashier paid the rest from my balance. That is what I'm talking about. That's how God shows up. He shows up like that. God is going to be like, if you just do, and I get it. I know how hard it is, especially when we don't have enough, right? We got to start. This is where the renewing of the mind happens. We have to stop believing I don't have enough. No, you do have enough. You have enough because you got to have enough faith that God is going to replenish you. And God is going to bring it, he's going to bring it back to you. And it's going to, that's why you hear some people, when someone sows into them, they're like, I pray that it comes back to you 10-fold, 100-fold, right? We should want to give freely. We should want to give cheerfully, because if we are releasing this, we're believing that God is going to bring it back to us. And I understand that we have been told, don't spend your money, don't give your last, don't go outside. Let me tell you, and I know Bolas, we have spoken about this, and she some days she says she don't remember this story, but I remember being in this house, having to go to an interview, and days before, I probably blessed someone. Me going on Facebook Live and speaking and releasing those messages was speaking life, right? That's other ways that we can give. And I had to go in this interview. My mortgage company, they screwed up, took all my money. They did a double charge on my mortgage. I'm like, you're bugging. God said, go to this interview, right? And I had to believe that whatever little I had, God was going to bring it back to me. And I remember so clearly God telling me, go on Facebook Live and release this message. And I'm looking at him like, I'm not looking at God, but I'm sitting here like, you want me to go and be Miss Inspiration right now when I'm out here, I'm broke. I'm broke as a joke. I got $2.75, and you want me to leave my house, because we were raised, you don't walk out this door unless you got enough money to get back home. And on that day, I did not have enough money to get back home. I didn't have enough money. But I released that message, and with faith, I walked out this door. I went to that interview. I got the job. And I remember my friend, she said that she was like, I'm gonna send you something. So I'm thinking something of being $10, $20. I won't say what the amount, but when I did connect my phone, because at the time my phone was partially off. When I got to Starbucks and I got the free Wi-Fi, my friend had sent me a couple of $100. And I often say, God, I know that's why if I stay consistent, and this is something for you, you might have to also realize, if we stay consistent to what God is telling us to do, stay consistent, do what God is telling you to do. It's not going to always make sense, but he's going to show up exactly at the time that you need him to show up. And it's not going to be the way that you want it. It's not going to be sometimes to be the people that you want it to come from. See, we are accustomed to certain family members being the people that's gonna help us. God might not use them. God might actually have that relationship become tarnished so that you can't go to that person. God will have their money be funny so that they can't help you. God might have perfect strangers come into your life and just bless you. Right? The same way he might send you a perfect stranger to someone else's life and for you to bless them. But we have to get to that season of just listening. There's certain times God would just be like, just give that person. And I just be like, what? Now, don't let people manipulate you and be like, oh, God said, to bless me with $1,000. Don't use your discernment. All right. Discernment was definitely, because some people are on purpose out here to be scammers too. Okay. So there are some myths of purpose. I remember I did a teaching of this a while ago, but purpose has had some negativity going on about it. So people have told you, and you probably have heard this, especially on social media, that if you are a business owner or you are an entrepreneur, you are operating in purpose. Every entrepreneur out here is not operating in purpose. There's a lot of people out here that have very successful businesses not because they are operating in purpose, but because they have identified a problem. Because the reality of what business is solve a problem, right? Solve a problem. You don't have to be passionate about this. It doesn't have to be on purpose for you. You just know people need a straw to go with this cup. So I'm going to make straws. And then I'm going to sell them to the companies that sell these cups. And we're going to work together. And I'm going to make money. They don't care. They don't care if sometimes this is when you start seeing, when people start taking shortcuts, they start using toxic products and chemicals and things like that. They don't care. So 9 times out of 10, they're not operating on a purpose. If you have a career like a doctor, nurse, or teacher, you are operating in purpose. We are seeing right now We have been seeing, even before the pandemic, there were a lot of teachers out there that were not operating in purpose. They were signing up because even before the pandemic, the one thing I want people to understand about the education field right now, education field has had challenges long before the pandemic. It just revealed it and exposed it on a greater level. The one thing I do remember, who remembers Teacher Fellows, right? Teachers Fellows was a program to help anyone that had a bachelor's degree. It could be in anything. You could be an art, so social services, liberal arts, science, anything. And if you had a desire to go work as a teacher, you can now go get your master's degree through Teachers Fellows. And it was like a whole bridging program to help those teachers, to help those individuals become teachers. A lot of people did that because they had incentives for student loan debt. People looked at it from the standpoint of, oh, I can get summers off, so I'm gonna go be a teacher. And some of these programs and some of these schools is paying a pretty decent price. I mean, decent salary. So some people were like, look, why not? Like, I can make 60,000 being a teacher, whereas I'm making 35,000 back in the day, working as an assistant at an art gallery. So they went through the program and they passed, and they became certified to teach, and they are now a teacher. They're not passionate about that. I have done a lot of professional developments with teachers, and some of them wish that I met one teacher, and I felt so bad for her because she really wanted to write. She wanted to write books. She wanted to write poetry. Her ideal life is what we would call the people that live off the grid. Like, I can see her moving down to like Costa Rica, getting a yurt, and like just enjoying her life there, writing and teaching people as long as she has the internet. That's what she would love to do. But she was like, no one told her that it's possible. And she was like, so she got this job as a teacher. And so many people believe that she's operating in purpose, and she's literally drowning on the inside. There are a lot of doctors and nurses. I used to teach at a medical assistant program. And I was actually talking about this young lady earlier with my sister. It broke my heart because here was a young lady. She can pass any exam. She came to school every day. She had perfect attendance. She just wouldn't do any of the other work. She would take the exams because exams were given in class. And she was getting 80s, 90s, 100s sometimes. And I remember getting to class one day early, and she was there, and I could just see the draining out of her. And I'm just like, sweetie, what's wrong? What's going on? Like, you're here, but you're not here. Why are you here? And she was like, Miss Williams, if I had it my way, I would not do this. I do not want to be a medical assistant. I am here because my mother told me that the only way that I'm going to get a good job is if I become a medical assistant. And so I signed up, and I hate it. I hate being here. I know the work, I can do it. So she was book smart. She knew how to take exams. There are a lot of people out there that they just know, especially if you give them a multiple choice exam, they know how to take a multiple choice exam. They know how to do that. So she was not passionate about this. And so she was forcing herself to stay in this program because her mother told her that she had to be a medical assistant. I went to the college that I went to, we had they had one of the best nursing programs. There were a lot of nursing students who were struggling. Now, nursing is not an easy subject in itself. So imagine someone being forced to become a nurse, even though they have no desire to be a nurse. Can you imagine, like, you have to, in nursing, I think my school, if I'm not mistaken, they could not get less than a B minus. So I mean, you have to get good grades. You have to make sure that you are passing everything. And you are doing this and you have no desire. So there are a lot of people who are in these professions, who are in these careers, they are not operating out of purpose, and they don't want to be there. So yes, if you go online, just do a quick Google search of doctors that have quit the profession and they became an art therapist. There was a young lady, she was a lawyer. I want to say like 2019, I found her story. She quit being a lawyer and she became a philanthropist. and started a nonprofit about something. And she was like, her family thought she was crazy and they called her stupid. People are looking for purpose. They're looking for fulfillment. They're not looking for, this is, unfortunately, we do need doctors. We do need nurses. We need a lot more doctors because, you know, speaking to my GYN a couple of days ago, we need a lot more doctors. Like doctors is the one profession that medical school is not what it's going to be. I mean, it's not what it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. They have seen a decline. And so yes, I will love the people that are purposed to be doctors, to have someone speak life into them so that they can go to medical school. But I would rather the parents and the teachers that know that this person is not purposed to be a doctor. Don't speak life into them. Don't force them into a field of being to fulfill your dreams. Because a lot of times that's what it is. Somebody is sitting in that class because they are trying to carry out their parents' dreams. Instead of their parents realizing that, you know what, maybe I should allow my child to live out their dreams. Let me speak life into their dreams. Let me help them to tap into their dreams. And they're forcing them. They're forcing them. So that's something that's going to continue to be a problem. This is why my purpose is to speak about purpose, to teach about purpose, so that if I can get that one parent that is trying to force their child to go to school for law, knowing that child has no desire, mom, dad, stop telling that child to be a lawyer and tell that child to be whatever it is that God is telling them to be. A lot of you already knew what you wanted to be when you were like 4 or 5. God was speaking to you. Most of us have already been told what we should be doing when we were 4 or 5. Think back to what you wanted to be at that age. And I guarantee you that's something that you're supposed to be doing. We also believe that people that work at fast food restaurants are not operating in purpose. So it becomes the opposite. If I'm not a doctor, then there's no way that I'm not operating in purpose. There was a lady that used to work at the White Castle in downtown Brooklyn. And this woman, she worked there until they closed the doors at that White Castle. And I would never forget, and I had to be about 11, 12 years old. And I remember hearing this woman say, because someone said when they was about to close the restaurant, she looked so sad. And she was like, I love getting up every day and work and seeing my customers. And what happened was that she was a recovering addict. And so she got the job through a workforce program. And this is when I found out that White Castles had a pension. I don't know if they still have a pension, but White Castles had a pension. So this woman had health insurance, that she had a pension that even though that the store was closing, she would be able to retire with a pension from White Castles. And this woman said, every day I knew that being here, I was going to be able to speak life into someone. Because at that particular White Castle, there was a lot of drug addicts, homeless people would come in there, and she would speak to them and she would share those resources and she was just helping them. She was like, even if I just help one person get back on track, I feel like I'm doing my part. That woman took that job to working in White Castles, and every day she operated on purpose. Guess what? God is more pleased with that than her going and say, I'm going to force myself to try to pass and go become a nurse and be miserable and mistreat patients. But because everyone says that if I'm a nurse, then I'm doing a great thing. God, well, he's not going to be pleased with that. God is going to be pleased with the fact that you are going to that job every day that the world is saying is beneath you. Like people are like, oh, I would never work in White Castle. I would never do that. You're just homeless. And like I said, that woman got a pension. It's not that many pensions out there today. Not that many companies giving out pensions. And whether her pension was extra $300 a month, $500 a month, she was getting a pension. Right? So we have to realize that our purpose is going to take care of us. By her doing that, God made sure that she was going to be in alignment with the company that's going to take care of her even beyond. So she can still go out there and do purpose. If she was getting Social Security, getting her pension, depending on where she was living back then, she's probably balling out. She's probably bringing home more money than she was when she was working at White Castles. God is going to bless you. This is the reason why we have to start identifying our purpose. And then we have to start believing that only special people are operating in purpose. The Beyoncés, the Bill Gates, the Oprahs, they're the only ones. God only wants those people to have purpose. No, because a lot of those people don't find their purpose until they have what they have done was they've taken one of their gifts, used their gifts, And it was a segue into them finding their purpose. When they start finding what they're supposed to really be doing, that's when you start seeing them shining in a different light. That sometimes your purpose might be that one song. Remember that boy that what was that song? Oh my gosh, it was a song that came out like 2014, 2015. Oh my gosh. And the kids was going crazy about it. And I read a story that a little girl was in a coma and her parents played that song every day because she loved this song. She was in a coma and they played that song every day, believing that one day she's going to wake up, and she did. And the little girl said that what kept her alive, because she's, they always talk to people who were in a coma and find out like, what was your experience? And she said she kept hearing that song, and that song kept her going. So her brain was still having activity. So we don't know. She could have been humming, in her mind, she could have been singing, and that song helped her come through. So that artist might have been purposed to create that song for just that one little girl. We don't know. But this is the reason why we have to birth it. You have to birth. This is why I don't know who this book is going to who this book is going to bless. I don't know, what song is going to bless. So you have to just do whatever. And this is why you see some people, they just do it all because they don't know something is going to kick, something's going to hit, and it's going to be the one thing that God is going to use me for. Right? So I know we're a little bit over time, so you just give me a little bit. I definitely want to help you to start identifying how can you identify your purpose. So I do a whole workshop on this. I probably will do one at the start of the year because I do love talking about purpose. I could talk about this all day, but how can you identify your purpose? Right? So the first thing is ask yourself, what do you enjoy doing? Right? Second thing is, what are you really good at? And then the third thing is, what do other people say you are good at or always come to you for? Now, believe it or not, the last two ones are the ones that really our purpose is hidden. Because a lot of times, like me, I enjoy singing. I'm not good at that, but I enjoy singing. And if you have ever been one of my students, ever been to one of my workshops, I try to sing somewhere. Like, I'm gonna just let y'all know, I sung one little line in my audiobook. So be prepared for that. But I'm not the greatest person to do that. So I didn't sing the whole album. I didn't sing the whole book to y'all, just one little line. Right. And when we look at these, when we start thinking about these three questions, I want you to think about your hobbies, your volunteer opportunities, the things that you did as a child. Sometimes you really have to sit back and reminisce and start thinking, right? What did you dream of doing? That's why I said a lot of times God spoke to you about your purpose when you were a little boy or girl, right? He told you, and it's something that you probably thought was crazy. You probably told one of your parents, and they was like, "You're crazy and insane." Right? iPhones was given to probably to Steve Jobs when he was a little boy. And Steve Jobs probably was told, "You're crazy. No one's going to ever, because they're thinking about the flip phones that we had. They're probably still thinking about the house phones. And he's thinking about, no, there's going to be a phone and people are going to be able to touch it. And it's going to have pictures and it's going to be colorful. And his parents probably said, "You're crazy." But he held on to that dream. And here we have iPhone, 14? Here we are in 2022, iPhone 14, something that could have been birthed as a child. So when we want purpose, you have to sometimes go back. See, God first showed me about being a speaker when I was like 4 or 5. I had a dream about being on a stage with a mic in my hand. That's why I thought I was going to be a singer. Because I had this dream. It's like thousands of people. God said, "I'm going to be on the stage, so I'm going to be a singer," because I had a mic in my hand. And God was like, "No, that was not your job. That's not what I needed you to do. So please do not ever try that again." Think about your work experiences, right? Think about the things that you have been paid to do, and even the things that you have not been paid to do, right? Think about whether or not it was a part of your daily job descriptions, or it was just something that, again, people were always calling you to do. And it might not be something that you are called to do often. But I do want you to think about the times other people that have always called you. What do people always call you for? Fill in the blank. That's going to start to help you to identify, because somewhere hidden, and I'm going to tell you, you might not enjoy it today. So that's why I say 2 and 3 might be the two that you really need to pay attention to, because guess what? I never wanted to be a teacher. I was told from a little girl, you're going to be a teacher. And I'm looking at my teachers like, you're bugging. I don't want to ever deal with what you're dealing with. And here I was in 2010, 20 something years old, taught my first class. And I was like, oh, I like this. See, God had to get me comfortable because I was like, okay, I could do this. And I went and got a full-time job thinking I'm just going to be a full-time adult education teacher. And God said, yeah, she thinks that that's what she's going to do, but I'm going to have her teaching at a different level. He had to get me comfortable. But when I reflect, I was teaching when I was in daycare. I was teaching when I was in first grade because every weekend I didn't have a normal childhood. Not because my mother forced me into anything crazy, but because I used to go home on the weekends and my sister's 7.5 years older. So she's doing what teenagers is doing. So I'm sitting here with my dolls and my teddy bears and I'm reteaching what my teachers taught me. So I've always been teaching. I've always been helping them to understand, well, this is how you're going to do it. I'm talking to dolls and teddy bears. They can't speak back. They can't do what I need them to do. So it was something that I knew I was good at, but I didn't enjoy doing it. I didn't think that I would enjoy doing it. I didn't think that it was something I could use as a career choice. And now every job that I've interviewed for jobs, and they be like, well, yeah, you don't have, facilitation is not going to really be a part of the job. It's going to be mainly computer stuff. And I just be sitting here like, God, I don't think I want this job. Because you want me behind a computer all day, no talk, like I can't facilitate, I can't teach. I don't think I could do that. Because I'm not finding purpose in it. My purpose will not be there. So these are things that you have to really pay attention to. And don't be afraid of it. So here, I'm just giving you a quick example, one of my examples. Well, this is my example, right? So things, and again, it took certain things. It took me a long time to say that I actually enjoy this. Initially, I love reading. I love researching. I love writing, right? I love singing. But the things that are in bold, you start to notice is that what are you really good at? I'm good at writing, researching. And then what do people call me? People do call me. And they might not call me to research normal stuff. I might be that person that research. If you're looking for like a guy and you're trying to find him on the internet, I might be able to help you, right? I got those kind of research skills. So people call me to coach. People call me to mentor. They call me to speak life into other people. They do call me a lot to teach computer software. I try to get away from that. It's not something that I really enjoy doing, but I do it because I know it's something that the world needs. But I can't do that for the rest of my life. Okay, so you start really sitting down and, put this list together, open up your heart space. Be honest with yourself. Put down the things that you are afraid to write down, right? And then start looking for things, right? So purpose is going to start looking like you writing a book, writing poetry. It's going to start looking like you cooking and baking, right? You might bake cookies for a breast cancer organization, right? Talking. You might become a talk show host or talking on a podcast. Coaching and mentoring. You might be a dancer. You might, I met someone a couple of years ago, and I honestly feel like if they would have listened to what I gave them advice on, they love to do art, and they had this love of maybe doing art therapy, and they thought about art therapy in the traditional sense. Well, I have to go back to school. I have to get certified in this. One thing I'm always tell people: if God needs for you to do it, He is going to make a way for you to do it. I have no educational background as a teacher. When I started teaching at a college level, I was able to do that just off of my natural born skills. God made a way for me to teach, even though I did not have a degree in education. And I have been teaching for the last 12 years at higher education levels, at workforce programs, at different trade school programs. God made a way. It was beyond what I had. And I didn't have to follow the traditional route. So take away, if God is telling you this is what you're supposed to do, you got to start realizing, all right, God, I know this is what you're telling me to do. And I'm going to believe that you're going to make a way. And when I gave the person the plan, like, this is how you're going to do it. And you're going to do it this way. And it was, no. And sometimes we stand in our own way because it's hard for us to get away from how the world has spoken to us and the world's ways of doing things. So it's going to look different. It's going to look different Recently, I've been seeing, and I mean, it sounds weird. Again, a lot of things are going to sound weird, but people have been making money just hugging people, right? Some people are just out here making money because they're hugging. They're hugging someone because someone needs a hug. That might be your purpose. So sometimes you have to think about that. And sometimes you have to be willing to do it for free. And then the more that you do it, people are going to start spreading your name. They're going to start, putting you out there. And it's going to be something that someone's going to say, hey, I want to give you $50 for this hug. And now you start charging $50 for your hugs, right? So this is how we start seeing that it's going to help you. So the last thing I want to do is that purpose can prepare you for your next career. It can become a business. Yes, it can produce multiple streams of income, right? You can find purpose in your current positions, right? It's going to make you wake up easier, faster, earlier. Purpose is going to make you happy. It's going to bring you happiness, some joy. It's going to give you completion. It's going to sometimes push you in the public eye, and you have to realize that it's going to be an impact beyond, where you are locally. And then a lot of times, the closer you get to God, is going to push you towards your spiritual callings. And that is a whole nother playing field, something that I know that I'm supposed to be doing. So what I want you to start doing is asking God, what is my purpose? What is my purpose for today and in life in general? Start having that conversation. Start looking at your past experiences. What have I been through that could help someone else? A lot of us, our experiences is going to be the purpose. Some of you have not found your purpose because you have not gone through anything yet. And then some of you have not identified and come to terms that your purpose is attached to your pain. Your pain is attached to your purpose. So what is that you have to really start paying attention to? And then the last thing is, look at the gifts that you naturally have. A lot of us have natural born gifts and talents that we'll never have to be taught. Someone may be able to help us to improve it, but it's not something that you have to actually be taught. It's going to just naturally come to you because God gave that to you when you were born. So these are the things that I want you to do to start getting started. So again, last thing, the invitation, if you are interested, I'm going to actually extend this for 2 months. So if you are interested, for 2 months, you will be able to pay $129. This offer is available until December 10th. You will get 2 sessions, 45 minutes, and 2 of my exclusive teachings that I have. So if you're looking to start healing, you're looking to start identifying your purpose, you want to start making sense of this, you want to put it together, head to the link in the description, and you'll be able to click on that link. And like I said, this $129 will be honored for 2 months. And for those of you that have registered, you have a special promo code to give you an extra 10%. So if you want to get the extra 10%, go ahead and also click on the link so you can get that free workbook, and you'll be able to get the extra savings as well. So I am Tanisha Shanee, Miss Inspiration. I know we went over a little bit today, and I do apologize, but like I said, I get excited. I get so passionate about this. I can talk about this all day long, but I want us to just get into this space of start realizing like our purpose does matter. So be well, be blessed, have a good evening, and I will see you all tomorrow as we are finishing up chapter 7. And then on Tuesday, we'll finish up chapter 8. All right. Have a good one. I'm Tanisha Shanee. Good night.